Welcome to the show. You often hear the saying, age is just a number. But what about the saying, age is only a state of mind? You're only as old as you think you are. On this show, we meet a lot of people over 50, over 60, even over 70, who definitely think they're a lot younger and they're out living life to prove it. Now, as we age, we do seem to encounter a few more challenges with our health. Today, we're going to discuss type 2 diabetes and lifestyle choices to minimize your risk of diabetes and to better manage it once diagnosed. Sitting in a chair, limited mobility, no worries. Please join us in the 5-minute fitness in the park with a chair option. To finish off with, we visit the pizza celebrations and we look at how older Filipino Australians can connect and have fun. And we hear how councils, MPs and consuls are supporting different cultural groups within the community. "90% of diabetes is preventable." Yes, you heard me right, 90%, and symptoms reversible. Today we're going to be discussing on Energy for Life what lifestyle choices we can make to help prevent diabetes and reverse symptoms. So welcome back to Over 50 So What. We're talking about a really important topic, which is diabetes that happens to a lot of us as we get older. So thanks for Camilla for being here so soon after your hip hop as well.
Thank you, my pleasure being here, and so long as I'm seated, I'm right.
And I'm ready to catch you if you fall. Now, we have talked about some of the lifestyle changes that are needed to prevent getting diabetes, and also after you get diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes. Today we're going to look at a bit more closely with the food choices that you might make. So when it comes to diet, what should we be doing before we get diagnosed and after maybe?
It's interesting because our supermarket diet has led us to a culture where we believe that the food that's in the supermarket is healthy for us. But in actual fact, a lot of the food is not healthy for us. Probably the most common question I get is, what can I eat when I get diagnosed? What can I eat? That's the answer. They want to walk out and know what they have to eat. So when we look at diet, we're looking at foods on the carbohydrates. So foods are made up of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, looking at the macronutrients. But it's the carbohydrates that actually spike the blood glucose levels. So they're the ones that we pay more attention to. So carbohydrates are anything that was basically plant-based, looking at it generally. You see a dietitian if you want to have a little more information on this. But generally it's anything that grew in the ground, came from something, grew in the ground, or grew under the ground. So if we're looking at an apple, it came off a tree. If we're looking at a carrot, it came underneath the ground. They're all carbohydrates. But the interesting thing is that when we think of milk or yogurt, it still has a carbohydrate component, but it didn't come from the cow. It came from the cow's diet, which was grass. So there's your plant base again there. So carbohydrates are an important factor to look at. We're looking at foods that are not going to spike your blood glucose as quickly. So this is where the glycemic index comes in. Glycemic meaning blood glucose, index meaning how high. So if we find foods that are lower on the glycemic index, they're not going to rush into the bloodstream very fast, which means they're not going to push the blood glucose up very fast, which means you have more time and your pancreas has more time to shovel out that glucose and get it into the cells where it should be.
And that has another byproduct too. You don't feel as hungry, so you're satiated for longer, so you're not tending to overeat as well. Is that right?
Yes, but you're opening up another kettle of fish here, because that goes straight into gut health as well, which is another subject. But basically, if you eat more protein and a little bit of, depending on your cholesterol levels, your fat as well in your diet is going to satiate you a lot more. The carbohydrates, if you go for low carbohydrates, they're going to stay in the system longer and allow you to feel fuller for longer. Yes.
Can you give us an example of some of the top 5 or 10 types of food we should be avoiding that are high GI?
I'm sure all your viewers would just immediately think, uh-oh. chocolate, sugars, confectionery, but it's also hidden in foods that we seem to think are good for us. So potatoes are very quick to digest, so very quick to release the blood glucose. Then you've got things like watermelon. These are all good foods. They've got vitamins and everything in them, but watermelon is easily digested and shoots your glucose up. So if you think of a fruit salad as something healthy, it's probably predominantly rockmelon or watermelon, and that will shoot your sugars up. But an apple, on the other hand, an apple is very low on the glycemic index. If you then, hello Duchess, if you then look at fruit juice, because people are under the impression that fruit juice is a wonderful healthy drink, it has vitamins and nutrients in it, but the problem is you're eating probably about 4 to 6 oranges in a glass of juice, and you would normally not eat 4 to 6 oranges one after the other. And so you're going to get 4 to 6 amounts of that blood glucose going up.
What about alcohol and soft drinks?
Soft drinks are notorious for having around about 10 teaspoons of sugar in a can of Coke, for instance. Alcohol has an interesting effect on the body, on the liver, where the liver can't do two things at once. So it's either going to metabolize all that alcohol, or it's got a storage of glucose in there where it can actually put that back into your bloodstream. Alcohol increases your weight, which increases your risk of diabetes, but it will stop the liver from throwing that sugar back in. So if you remember how we used to go to the pub and there was always peanuts or chips or something on the counter, or your mother said you've got to have something in your stomach before you go out? That was to reduce the quickness of alcohol affecting you. The alcohol is also going to affect you because you're going to be more likely to eat rubbishy food that's high in calories and high in sugar than you are if you're not having a drink.
Now, what about bread and rice?
Yes, your GP might tell you let's stay away from all the white things. So potatoes, bread, rice are very quick to digest. But interestingly, cauliflower isn't. So cauliflower's a good one. That's a white one, but go for the cauliflower. If we look at rice comes in 3 sizes. The long grain, the medium grain and the short grain. If you think that long grain will take a long time to digest, then that's the one you go for, because you don't want one like jasmine rice is very high in the glycemic index, it's about 104%, and it will make your sugars rise very quickly. So having something like a basmati, mahatma or dungara, the long grain rices are better. And it doesn't matter if it's white, it doesn't matter if it's black, I don't care what colour it is, brown, I don't care. But if it's a long grain rice and you only have a small amount of it, then that's a better choice. But your doctor will probably want you just to avoid everything to start with.
We just have to be proactive. We just need to do regular checks to make sure we're going well, and again, healthy lifestyle choices. And what about that stressed? Spelt backwards. Can you
Well, stress is a very important factor. People who have high, so say you've got a job that's really stressful, or perhaps you're in a family situation that's very stressful, or you live on the south coast and you went through all the fires, that was very stressful. That can increase your cortisol levels, and that can increase your risk of diabetes as well. They now know that. But the interesting thing is that stress also increases your appetite. So quite often you'll reach out for foods or comfort foods that aren't associated with good diabetes management. And this means you'll go for those sweet foods. And if you look at the word desserts and then look at it backwards, it says stressed.
The main point is, as with everything, be proactive, make healthy lifestyle choices, and you can live a long, healthy, quality life.
Absolutely. You have more control over this than most other disorders.
Well, thanks so much for all that wonderful information. I'm sure it's enlightened a lot of our viewers out there. You know, it's enlightened me as well. And thanks to your cat as well, Duchess. Thanks for watching our TV show. Be sure to hit subscribe and then you'll never miss an episode. Jump on Facebook, join our group, get in on the fun, fitness, wellness and inspiration. I'm Carol, over 50, so what?